Hey, what's up guys, Rev here. So today we're going to look at a couple different stories involving drama surrounding certain video games. Now we're going to give a few examples, but the main focus of this video is going to be the outrage surrounding the Resident Evil 4 remake that released a few days ago. The main topic of controversy involves some censoring of fan service in this remake, which has led to a whole host of discussion on social media where gaming journalists have crawled out of the woodwork to claim that this was a big victory and that this will prevent real-life violence because they are now censoring panty shots from the game. We even had a producer from the industry come forward to say that players must gain consent from fictional characters before engaging with fan service of these characters. Yes, that is the reality we are currently living in, and we're going to go over all of it now. So buckle in because it is quite a wild ride. So of course we're starting with the Resident Evil 4 remake that released a few days ago. Now there's nothing too crazy about this remake. I mean, it's just brushing up the graphics and things like that, and only a small number of things have been removed. However, almost all of those small changes revolve around the character Ashley. Now, Ashley was known in the original game from nearly 2 decades ago for featuring a whole host of fan service featuring her, which included a bunch of different ways to get various panty shots of this character. And of course, in the Resident Evil 4 remake that just released, all of those panty shots have been removed, and even just regular fan service and dialogue has been all removed. That is the main focus of all the changes, have to do with fan service featuring Ashley. Now, of course, gaming journalists have come out of the woodwork to celebrate this as the greatest moment of their life, quite possibly saving the lives of many by removing the fan service from this remake. So, The Gamer has released multiple articles about this subject, and they are equally as terrible. They are really giving Kotaku a run for their money these days as the worst gaming journalists out there, which gaming journalists are already bad to begin with. It's like their set feature, but they are the worst of the worst. The Gamer and Kotaku are just having an all-out war for being the most disgraceful, uninformed, and ignorant clickbait rage group of psychopaths out there on the internet. But this article is titled, "Not being able to look up character skirts is a win. When will gamers stop feeling entitled to creep shot females?" And of course, they feature Ashley from Resident Evil and 2B. So they go on to say, after listing out the complaints, that people are angry about the Resident Evil 4's remake because you're no longer able to see up Ashley's skirt like you could in the original, which for some reason made gamers really mad. Well, a common theme in all this is that, yes, there's some coomers out there who are very angry about losing out on these panty shots. But the idea for people like me is I'm not dying on the hill of trying to preserve her panty shots. If you want them that bad, go play the original again. But here's the thing. I find it very odd, this selective censorship. That is the only thing being censored in this remake. Just the sexual themes and fan service featuring Ashley. Nothing else has changed, and it leads to a very fair question. Why is that the only thing that was censored? Why isn't the gore or the violence or any of those themes untouched? Why are they not getting the same treatment as the sexual themes? What changed so much from 2004, 2005 when the original was released till now that only the sexual themes are so bad that they have to be removed? Well, besides this screenshot of Juliet from Lollipop Chainsaw living rent-free in my head for many, many years now, they go on to give their reasons as to why this is a good thing. So it says, "I generally believe that it is bad to look up skirts both in games and in real life." Congratulations to this journalist for surviving the upskirt allegations. Like, yeah, no kidding. This is like on the same wavelength of saying 9/11 bad. Like, yeah, no kidding. Looking up people's skirts without their permission in real life is bad. Congratulations. But it is different when it's in a video game. Like, what makes that different from something like violence or murder? How is that any different? Are you going to say that those things are okay in games but not in real life? How does this upskirt thing play any sort of a different role as opposed to other themes like violence? I don't understand. And it's also bad that developers give players reasons to do it, whether that be by intentionally creating something to look at or by directly incentivizing it. There have been a number of games where you get achievements for doing it and doing it repeatedly. And of course, they use the Lollipop Chainsaw example, saying that you can get an achievement from that game called I Swear I Did It by Mistake for looking up Juliet's skirt. And she's aware of it. And she'll pull down her skirt or cover herself so the player can't see anything. Yeah, so they're saying like you get an achievement for looking up her skirt, and that's a bad thing because it will incentivize people to do that in real life too. Well, also there's achievements for cutting people in half with a chainsaw. Do you think that's going to incentivize people to do that in real life? Of course not. So again, what is so different about sexual themes versus violent themes? Like, is there any evidence to support that one leads to more imitation in real life than the other? Is there any support for that, or is it just talking out of your ass because you're a gaming journalist? I think I know the answer to that. I think we all know the answer to that. But it goes on to say that similarly in Nier Automata, you can also get an achievement called What Are You Doing for looking up 2B's skirt 10 times. The text that comes with the achievement says 2B's secret discovered 10 times. Every time you do this, she pushes the camera away. The game is punishing you for being pervy, but at the same time, rewards you for doing it. Yeah, it rewards you for looking up 2B's skirt, which honestly is a reward in and of itself. You don't need an achievement to want to do that. Like, I'm telling you, the amount of people who are absolutely buck-broken by 2B's ass it should be studied by future generations. Like, I think the only problem with this achievement is that they required only 10 times. If they required you to do it 100 times, there would still be the same number of players who got the achievement. Like, let's be real here. And you know what? The only people who are upset about this are gaming journalists and other people who aren't even interested in these games in the first place. And the game is not punishing you for being pervy. They're not trying to hand out a life lesson for trying to look up 2B's skirt, right? It's just playful and fun. And you ask yourself, well, why does that matter? Why is that important to the game? It's not. A lot of these things are not important to the game. Like many other features of games, they're just not important. They're not meant to be that deep. And you know what? No pixels were harmed in the making of this game. So they made another article on The Gamer, this time by a different author. I swear, it's like they don't communicate. They come out and basically just write the same article without consulting with each other with very little changes. But this one in particular says, idiots are mad you can't look up Ashley's skirt in Resident Evil 4 Remake. A handful of gamers are big mad that you can't look up a woman's skirt in the remake, which is a very normal thing to be mad about. They're big mad. This sounds like some edgy, like, 14-year-old YouTuber with 100 subscribers describing, like, the title of their video, like, oh, the libs are big mad about that new legislation. Like, this is a professional journalist saying big mad. They're big mad, these idiots. They're all idiots and weirdos. But they go on to say that they removed many of the different things, and the big thing they removed was, you know, the idiots getting mad that you couldn't look up Ashley's skirt anymore. And these people add in different claims saying that it murders an aspect of her character, which I think is a bit dramatic, but it does remove something that many people knew the character for in the original. And it says, this person complains, it says, why is censorship so prevalent in gaming nowadays? Which is a very fair question that they're going to gawk over, because how have things changed so much since the release of the original, where something that was totally not even an eye batted at 2 decades ago is now like easy, cut and dry, just get rid of it, done. Like, it really is kind of crazy to me. But the article goes on to say that, yup, in Resident Evil 4, it was canon that Leon Kennedy looked up a teenage-coded 20-year-old Ashley skirt for a peek at her panties just to be called a pervert. Yes, we are using the term teenage-coded. We're not even doing child-coded anymore, which that is ridiculous and stupid as that was for fictional characters. We're now doing teenage-coded. Yes, that is the reality that we're living in, where people are unironically using terms like teenage-coded to imply that a game is doing something wrong. right? I'm surprised they're even quoting one of the people criticizing the censorship, saying, I'm surprised they're even keeping in the gore given the extent that they're willing to go to censor something that the vast majority of players will never even see. The post continues, immediately undermining the line about how this shot is the thing people most wanted. This is dishonest, and it suggests a lack of soul and attention to detail on the developer's part. The post closes, no panties, no buy, simple as. So again, no one's trying to die on the hill of I think it's a little ridiculous to simply think that a character or game is ruined by removing the panty shots, but the question is why? Why is that singled out over everything else? Why is it singled out over the gore and violence? It makes no sense. Why is it so unique? It shows that these people have a Puritan-like mindset when it comes to anything with sexual themes. And that's not new. That has become a very common theme in the gaming industry, and it's becoming worse and worse, especially in the West. And you know what? Again, we'll see this reference over and over again. Why is it necessary? Why is it necessary? Why is anything necessary in video games? Why is anything? But we're going to move on to some of the Twitter posts about this. This was posted a few days ago. This person posted a screenshot of a Steam review of the remake, and it is something, I think this is from maybe a month ago. It's become like a copy pasta review. And whether the original was serious in terms of it was posted by some Coomer who really spent a lot of time going through all the changes, or if it was some elaborate troll post, it has now become a fixture in this whole argument about Resident Evil 4's remake. So it's just listing all of the things that were removed involving the character Ashley, her dialogue, the panty shots, all that stuff. All right, and this person and everyone in the replies making fun of this, they point out one thing and one thing only. They say, why is this necessary? Why is it necessary for a game to have these gratuitous fan service shots that aren't necessary to the story or don't give any value? Well, again, why do any of these things matter? Why do you need gore? Why do you need violence? Why do you need weapons? Why do you need unique character designs? Who cares? Why do you need these things? Why don't you just make every character a gray mass and have them just freeze up when they look at each other? Because why do you need to shoot them? We get it. It's not necessary. You won. It's just you can go so far with these things, and I just don't understand why these things that no one had a problem with for all this time all of a sudden are demonized so much that they're just dismissed simply because they're not necessary. And again, I am not dying on the hill of these panty shots make or break this game. I'm just saying it's odd to single out one aspect of a 2-decade-old game and say, only that is a problem, but everything else with the game, totally fine. It's weird. And this whole concept of it's not necessary, is it necessary to give Leon cat ears in the remake? Was this necessary? No. But people enjoy it. It's fun. And you know what? Some people will go, oh, Rev, that's disgusting. Are you comparing putting a cat ears on this character to removing panty shots? Yeah, I kind of am actually, because at the end of the day, we're talking about pixels. We're talking about pixels on a screen. All of these things mean nothing. No one's getting hurt. No one's getting influenced to do these things in real life. It's just a bunch of angry, Puritan-like people who are upset about themes that make them feel uncomfy. And again, a lot of these things can be avoided. A lot of the upskirt shots, you can avoid them. You have to be actively looking for them to end up bringing them out. But I want to get to the main course of this video. This is probably the best part. It was worth hanging in there, trust me. So this producer, this video game producer, came out named JP Kellums and voiced his opinion, and this would get wild. So he quote retweeted that screenshot we're looking at, and he said, I worked in Japan. I worked on games that had content like this. Content like this never needed to be in any of these games. If your goal is to titillate, there are better ways than juvenile abuse of the male gaze. This is why I hated the 2B design. It encourages this BS. Again, if I had a nickel for every time 2B's ass buck broke some journalist or Puritan-like weirdo on the internet, I'd be a rich man. Because that thing just lives rent-free in their heads and it scares them to death. And you know what? Anyone who uses the term male gaze unironically, just immediately pack it in. You're dealing with a terminally online loser who has absolutely no conception of what's actually important in the world. And that's from me complaining about people removing panty shots from a game. Again, not a hill I'm dying on, but why are people like this so hyper fixated on that aspect of a fictional character in a fictional setting versus anything else like gore and violence? I don't understand why that is so different to you, but it really was the replies to this that made it that good. So they go on to say in the reply to that previous tweet, the idea that upskirt shots are an aspect of a character is an absolute joke. If anything, it is more like an aspect of the character of the morons posting this. And I'm not just saying that now. I tried very hard to get the Wonder Pink upskirt shot cut from 101 but failed. And I'm not saying this to be prudish. If you are in that stuff, awesome, go for it. But do it with consent. With consenting adults. In games, mediating the idea of agency and consent is very difficult. And just because you can make the distinction doesn't mean everyone else can. First of all, meds. Take your meds. Take your meds. You have schizophrenia if you genuinely think there's any sort of aspect of fictional content that applies to consent. No fictional character out there can consent to anything. They do not have the ability. It's just like with the lolly arguments on Twitter. I played that stupid Goku meme at the beginning of the video because everyone posted that with the caption under it, the age of consent is 18, while posting over lolly artwork. The lolly cannot consent. Neither can some MILF character. None of them have the ability to consent. So the second you're bringing the idea of consent to fictional things, crazy. Absolutely unwell, unhinged insanity. No fictional character can consent. And the idea that you're having a hard time mediating these ideas is because it's impossible. It is literally impossible. And to apply a standard of someone who can't separate fiction and reality, right? There's people out there, of course. And this person, JP, is saying that we should cater to that extremely small minority that can't separate concepts of consent versus a real person compared to a fictional character. That we should apply those to everyone because apparently no one can handle it. No, only you can't handle it, JP. Everyone else with a functioning brain understands that there is a difference between fiction and reality. And number one, they can't consent, and that things happening to fictional characters do not harm anyone real. And that there is something different about an upskirt shot of a fictional character versus something happening to a real life person. I think anyone who's halfway there understands that. But he goes on to say, so he's getting blasted, right, in the quote retweet. So he does the classic, I'm not getting owned, I'm actually owning you because you're so mad. He says, LOL, I just opened Twitter and I guess I made the weeb crowd mad. Or I'm sorry, mad. Which is always ironic to me because I actually live their dreams. I'm sorry if you don't like that I think our industry can and should mature beyond upskirt shots. Also, this is why I locked my account previously. Ratio me all you want. I've got a birthday rave to enjoy. Dude, this is like the guy who's like, I don't have time for this. I have a date with my girlfriend. Oh wait, you never heard of her. She actually goes to a different school. We met at summer camp and I have like better things to do than to argue with people who are making fun of me and validly criticizing me. Ugh. Like, this guy is absolutely delusional. Like, oh, you're getting owned? No, actually, we're getting owned because you're cooler than us. You're living out our dreams. What dreams is that? Being a laughingstock on the internet? I'm here talking in a cute anime girl avatar, and I am infinitely more cool than you. And that is saying something. Like, you exist to be laughed at. Like, everyone right now is pointing and laughing at you. You can't even get the people you're sucking up to support you on this tweet. This whole thing is absolutely embarrassing. Now, we're talking about consent, right? Like, he's so concerned about consent in video games involving fictional characters. What about this tweet, dude? I swear, I saw a screenshot of this and I thought, surely this is deleted. It's still up, by the way. So this is back from 2010. I get it, long time ago, but he was a full-grown adult when he said this. So apparently consent's been a bit of a developing topic in his head. So he said, "You're a bad man, Mr. Sterling. Sorry I missed you. There is a Bayonetta cosplayer here whose whole ass I would annihilate." Yeah, did you get that real person's consent before you started talking sexually about them on a public platform? This tweet is still up, by the way. So the guy who is mauling over consent in a fictional setting has no problem talking like this about a real person. Yes, that gives you an idea of how brain dead and fake all these people are. They have absolutely no self-awareness, and that's hardly surprising. But before we go, I wanted to cover a couple more things involving some video game drama. Again, Hogwarts Legacy, it never seems to leave us. So this tweet is very interesting. It came out and said, GameSpot said, according to Steam, only 25% of players have earned the Hero of Hogwarts achievement for completing the main story. Now, this is very misleading. Now, what's interesting is there was actually a Twitter fact check applied to this tweet where they add a caption at the bottom that says certain information in further context so Twitter users aren't misled. They have since removed it, and I have no idea why, but it was very informative, and many people have shared similar accounts. That 25% of players finishing a single-player game is actually very high. It's higher than normal. And they're framing this like it's so low, like, oh, Hogwarts Legacy was a failure. Meanwhile, extremely successful and respected games like Elden Ring only have a 19% completion rate. So this is pretty crazy that they tried to frame this in a way that Hogwarts Legacy failed and that people only bought the game to be transphobes and to be jerks online, when in reality there was a great amount of engagement in this game, a game that takes roughly, I believe, like 70 hours to complete. It's no small task, and still, 1 out of every 4 players who bought it did it. So that's a pretty good rate. And one more thing I want to point out, so it just seems to never end with this outrage. You have this user talking about various YouTubers supporting trans rights, okay? And then this person wanted to add a little caveat to that, saying, just a reminder that if I see anyone who played Hogwarts Legacy waving the pride flag on June, you are not welcome here. Your clear attempt to use us for clout and throw us under the bus the moment we aren't useful to you said it all. So unless you've genuinely changed, leave. That's right. You're banished. You're banished from the trans community. I don't care if you're trans. You know what? If you're LGBT and you played this game, regardless of your intentions or reasons, you're banished. Hand in your badge and gun. You're done. You're dismissed. This person has decided that you no longer belong in this community because you played a video game. This is months later. It just never ends. And the idea that someone is being used for clout and thrown under the bus, yeah, it seems pretty relevant because that's what happened to a whole lot of people, including trans people, who simply thought that harassing people over a video game was not necessary. People were used for clout and harassed by these activists who thought they were doing the right thing, these Twitter freaks. You know, Twitter freaks, people who harass others over video games. But this just goes to show you the delusions have not stopped, and it's not going to stop. It's like this mark on people forever if they supported Hogwarts Legacy or the right of others to play the game. It'll never leave them. They'll be continually harassed over time for saying basically the most simple of messages, that playing this game is okay or harassment over this game is bad. But that's going to do it for this video. I know it was a long one. We talked about a whole lot of things, so share all of your related thoughts in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.